When I saw 2 lines on the test, I didn't know it would mark the beginning of a war for my life. What should have been the happiest news nearly killed me and my child. My name is Monica. I'm 32, living in Seattle, and I work as a creative director at a major advertising agency. 6 months ago, if someone had asked if I was happy, I would have nodded without hesitation. I had a career I was proud of, loyal friends, and a husband I'd been with for nearly 8 years. Alex was my anchor in this chaotic world. We met in college. He was studying architecture. I was in journalism. Alex was a quiet, thoughtful guy with kind eyes who listened in a way that made me feel like the only woman in the world. Our love wasn't the fiery passion of movies, but it was steady, like a rock. Once we both settled into our careers, Alex proposed by the same lake where we shared our first kiss. It was a chilly October day, but his hands warmed me better than any fire. Our wedding was in a Seattle suburb, small, intimate, just our closest loved ones. Walking down the aisle, seeing Alex's calm, loving gaze, I thought, this is it. This is happiness. 3 months after the wedding, I started noticing changes. Morning nausea, strange fatigue, sudden bursts of tears. At first, I chalked it up to stress. A new project at the agency was draining me. But one rainy evening, as I stopped by a pharmacy, my heart whispered the truth. Sitting in the bathroom, holding the test with trembling hands, I counted the seconds. When 2 bright lines appeared, the world stopped. I was pregnant. A tiny life was growing inside me. I cried with joy, pressing my hands to my belly. Alex stepped out of the shower, towel drying his hair. I stood in the doorway, clutching the test. "Alex?" My voice quivered with excitement. "I think we're going to be a family of 3. He froze, the towel falling to the floor. His eyes widened, then he rushed to me, scooping me into his arms. "Seriously?" His voice cracked. We're going to be parents?" "Yes," I laughed through tears. "I'm pregnant, Alex. We're going to be parents." He kissed me, laughed, and whispered, "I love you. I love you so much." We decided to keep it quiet for now, at least until the first trimester was over. Alex was cautious. "Let's wait a bit longer. I don't want everyone worrying if something goes wrong." I agreed, though inside I was bursting with joy, but keeping such news a secret was harder than I expected, especially during family dinners at Alex's parents' house. Alex's family lived 20 minutes away. His mother, Victoria, a former English teacher, was a commanding woman with a sharp tongue and an even sharper gaze. She always looked at me as if weighing whether I was good enough for her son, and every time I failed her test. "Monica, dear," she'd say with a fake smile, "you do know how to make our family's roast, don't you?" "Not yet, but I'd love to learn from you," I'd reply, trying to stay friendly. "Oh, you must." Her eyes glinted. "Alex grew up on my cooking. He's used to a certain quality." Christina, Alex's younger sister, an interior designer, was no better. Beautiful, successful, and single, she had a knack for compliments that stung like insults. "Monica, that cardigan is so practical," she said at one family gathering. "Where'd you get it? Target?" "No, but what's wrong with that?" I tried to smile. "Nothing, just, you know." She shrugged and turned to a friend. Alex stood nearby, glass of wine in hand, hearing it all but saying nothing. His silence cut deeper than any words. David, Alex's older brother, a surgeon, was simply indifferent. He barely nodded when we met and spent most of his time staring at his phone. To him, I didn't exist. The breaking point came a month after I found out I was pregnant. Victoria invited us for dinner, saying she wanted to make a signature dish. I arrived early to help in the kitchen. "Victoria, can I help with the vegetables?" I offered. "No need, dear." She didn't even turn around. "You cut carrots wrong. Just sit in the living room." My cheeks burned with humiliation. In the living room, Christina was flipping through a magazine. "Christina, that hairstyle looks great on you." I tried to start a conversation. "Thanks." She didn't look up. Then she turned to David. "Wears cheap clothes, but hands out compliments like candy." It hit like a slap. I clenched my fists but kept smiling. When we got home, I sat on the couch, staring out the window. Alex came out of the shower and saw my face. "What's wrong?" He sat beside me. "Alex," I turned to him. "What if one day I just can't take it anymore?" "What do you mean?" He frowned. I didn't answer. But inside, something was growing alongside our baby. A realization. I couldn't stay silent anymore. I couldn't let my child grow up in an atmosphere of contempt. The next morning, nausea hit again. I sat on the edge of the bed, cradling my belly, and thought, no more hiding. Alex stepped out of the bathroom, towel over his shoulders. "Alex," I looked at him. "I don't want to hide the pregnancy anymore." He sat beside me, taking my hand. "I think so too. Whatever Mom says, this is our joy. We have a right to share it." We agreed to announce it at the family dinner on Saturday. Victoria said she wanted to showcase a new dish from a cooking show. Saturday. I wore a navy dress, simple but elegant. Alex said there was no need to hide my belly, but I draped a light scarf over it anyway. Walking into the house, we felt the tension immediately. Christina sat at the bar counter, lazily stirring a cocktail. "Oh, you're here." She didn't even turn. David, as usual, was glued to his phone. Victoria emerged from the kitchen in a floral apron. "Alex, help me with the salad. Monica, sit, rest. I'm handling everything today." I nodded, swallowing another dose of condescension. Dinner was tense. Victoria served lasagna, which, she claimed, required special skill. When dessert, an apple pie, came out, Alex set down his fork and looked at me. "So we have some news." He took my hand. Everyone froze. Victoria slowly lowered her spoon. "What news?" "Monica's pregnant." Alex's voice trembled with excitement. "We're expecting a baby." The silence was deafening. Christina stopped sipping her cocktail. David finally looked up from his phone. Victoria stared at me like I'd announced the apocalypse. "Pregnant?" she repeated slowly. That happened fast. 8 weeks, I said, trying to sound confident. Christina broke the silence first. "Wow, no time wasted. I thought you wanted to focus on your career first." "Plans changed." I met her gaze calmly. Victoria stood, circled the table, and stopped behind my chair. "Monica, are you sure?" Her voice was even, but cold. "Of course I'm sure." "Well, it's unexpected, but congratulations, if it's true." The last words landed like stones. Alex squeezed my hand tighter but said nothing. That silence again. On the drive home, we were quiet. Finally, Alex spoke. "I'm sorry about Mom. She just needs time to adjust." Adjust to what? That I'm pregnant with your child? That's not what she meant. Then what? He didn't answer, and I knew. He wouldn't defend me. 2 days later, Victoria texted, "Come for dinner Wednesday. I want to throw a proper celebration for the news." Alex was thrilled. See? Mom just needed time to process. I didn't trust the invitation, but we had to go. Wednesday. Christina wore a cream silk dress, her hair in an elegant updo. David showed up, a rarity. Victoria greeted us at the door. "Monica, that dress doesn't exactly hide the belly, does it?" She scanned me. "I chose it for comfort." I smiled through gritted teeth. Dinner started with corn soup. "A new recipe from a famous blogger," Victoria announced proudly. Alex leaned toward me. "Careful, don't criticize. She'll never forget it." I wasn't planning to criticize, but Victoria found her own opening. "Monica, you're barely eating. Don't you need to eat for 2? "I get nausea sometimes. My doctor says it's normal in the first trimester." Christina snickered. "If there even is a first trimester." I turned to her sharply. "What's that supposed to mean?" "Just that it's all happening so fast. I remember you saying at the wedding that kids weren't on the horizon." Victoria set down her spoon. "Christina, that's not funny." Then she looked at me. "But Monica, are you really pregnant?" "I had a blood test last week." I felt my insides tighten. "Then why didn't you bring the results?" "I didn't think I had to prove anything." "You see," Victoria leaned back, "Alex is launching his own firm. Any misinformation could damage his reputation." I waited for Alex to defend me. Instead, he sighed heavily. "Monica, if you have the test results, maybe just show them to Mom, to put everyone at ease." I turned to him, stunned. "What did you just say?" "I just thought, if it'll calm everyone down..." "Everyone who?" I stood so fast the chair scraped. "Or do you doubt me too?" "No, but..." "No buts!" I laughed, but it was bitter. "I don't owe anyone in this house proof." Christina snorted. "Here comes the drama." I scanned the table. Alex stared at his plate. Christina smirked. David shrugged indifferently. Victoria looked at me like a judge. "I need some air." I headed for the door, but Victoria stood quickly, blocking my path. "If you leave now, no one will believe a word you say." "Move." I stepped toward her. "You don't understand the consequences, Monica. If you're telling the truth, proving it shouldn't be an issue. Don't test my patience. And if you're not," she leaned closer, "then what?" I stepped forward. "Get out of my way. Now." And then it happened. I only remember Victoria reaching out. Maybe to stop me, maybe to push. Her hand grazed my shoulder. I lost my balance. My foot slipped on the rug's edge, and I fell. Time slowed. I remember the pain in my back, the crack of my head against the floor, Alex's shouts, the clatter of falling chairs, and a dull ache in my lower abdomen that meant only one thing. Something was wrong. I lay on the cold floor, staring at the ceiling, thinking only, not my baby. Please, not my baby. I woke in a hospital room. White walls, fluorescent lights, the steady beep of a heart monitor. My throat ached. My head was heavy. But the first thing I felt wasn't pain. It was primal fear. My baby. Was my baby alive? I turned my head, panic rising. My breathing quickened, the monitor beeping frantically. The door swung open. A nurse rushed in. "Monica, you're safe." Breathe slowly. I grabbed her hand. My baby? The baby? She smiled. The doctor will be here soon, but I can tell you, the baby's heartbeat is strong. You both made it through. I sobbed with relief. Dr. Anderson, a woman in her 50s with kind but tired eyes, entered with a chart. Monica, you have a mild concussion and bruises. As for the pregnancy, the heartbeat is stable, but will keep you under observation for 48 hours. The door opened again. Alex walked in, pale, hair disheveled. Monica. He stopped at the door. I turned to the window. I didn't want to see him. I'm sorry. His voice shook. I didn't think it would go this far. Go this far? I turned to him. Alex, you sat there while your mother questioned my pregnancy, while your sister humiliated me, and when I fell, you still said nothing. Mom says she only meant to stop you, not push. And you believe her? He looked down, silent. That was enough. A knock at the door. Sophia, my best friend, burst in, bag and water bottle in hand, fire in her eyes. God, I nearly had a heart attack. She rushed to the bed. The hospital called, and I came right away. Then her gaze landed on Alex. And you let this happen? It's not my fault. Then whose? Sophia was furious. Did Monica push herself? Alex opened his mouth, but Sophia cut him off. You know what Monica said before she passed out? Your mother told her, if you leave, no one will believe you're pregnant. And your sister said something about bad planning. Then your mother blocked her way. I gripped Sophia's hand. I'm done staying silent. Enough. Sophia stepped into the hall to make a call. She returned, eyes blazing. I requested the hospital's security footage. Dr. Anderson agreed to provide a statement about your injuries. Alex tried to speak, but I stopped him. Leave, Alex. I need quiet. He lingered, then left slowly. You know what I have to do. I looked at Sophia. What? Protect my child. At all costs. The next morning, as I awaited discharge, Sophia returned with her phone. You need to hear this. She played a recording from the hallway when she'd gone for coffee. Christina's voice, low but clear. Just say Mom didn't mean to push her. That Monica slipped. Victoria's voice, cold. This can't affect Alex. He just got funding for his firm. If people hear about a family scandal, it's over. Christina laughed. Who'd believe Monica? Mom never liked her. Let Alex say a few words and it'll blow over. I gripped the bedsheet, listening. The recording ended. They're planning to cover it up, Sophia said. But I won't let them. I won't let my child grow up in a world where truth can be twisted so easily. That evening, we started gathering evidence. Sophia, a former paralegal, knew what to do. First, medical records. Dr. Anderson signed a detailed report of my injuries without hesitation. A bruise on my left hip didn't match a typical fall. Second, hospital security footage. It showed a frantic Alex running into my room and Victoria and Christina talking by a window in the hallway. Third, the audio recording. I texted Alex, asking for our full text history from the past 2 weeks, including where he asked me to get a blood test. He read it, but didn't reply. Perfect, Sophia said. Silence is an answer too. With the evidence, we met Susan Blake, an attorney specializing in domestic violence, in a softly lit office. Susan listened without interrupting, nodding and taking notes. What do you want, Monica? She asked finally. Divorce. full custody of my child, and, if possible, charges against Victoria for intentional harm. Susan smiled. You know what you want. That's good. I filed for divorce 5 days after discharge. Alex called, left messages. I don't know what to do. I can't control Mom. I read them and set the phone face down. Not because I didn't love Alex, but because I realized a man who can't protect his wife won't protect his child. Sophia helped me move into her apartment on the outskirts of Seattle. Every day I sat by the window, hand on my belly, talking to my unborn child about courage, truth, and never letting anyone diminish their worth. One evening, as a breeze stirred the curtains, I looked at Sophia. I used to think a husband was my shield, but the only person who must never betray me is myself. Sophia squeezed my hand. And now, you're not alone. The trial day was gray and overcast, as if the sky knew truth would be revealed. I sat in the courtroom, hand on my growing belly. Sophia held my other hand while Susan sorted through documents. Across the aisle, Victoria sat in a light gray suit, lips pursed. Christina, beside her, looked indifferent, but her tightly clasped hands betrayed her nerves. Alex sat in the back row, a shadow of the husband he once was. The judge, an older woman with short gray hair, spoke clearly. Today, we address Monica Wilson's case against Victoria Foster for intentional harm to a pregnant woman, as well as her petition for divorce and child custody. Susan stood, voice calm but firm. Your Honor, my client, Monica Wilson, was 8 weeks pregnant during the incident. The defendant, Victoria Foster, not only failed to support her, but created a hostile environment that led to a dangerous fall. She presented the evidence methodically. Medical records showing the bruise on my hip didn't align with a simple fall. Dr. Anderson's testimony about the pregnancy's risk, security footage showing Victoria's suspicious behavior post-incident. And finally, the damning audio. The room froze as Christina's voice played. Just say Mom didn't mean to push her, that Monica slipped. Then Victoria's, cold and calculated. This can't affect Alex. He just got funding. If people hear about a family scandal, it's over. I looked at Alex. He covered his eyes with his hands, as if hiding from the words echoing through the room. The judge's frown deepened. Victoria's attorney, a middle-aged man with slicked-back hair, tried to soften the blow. Your Honor, my client had no intent to harm. It was a misunderstanding caused by emotional tension. Victoria Foster only tried to stop the plaintiff to continue the conversation. The judge raised a hand, cutting him off. I've heard the recording, Mr. Crow. The defendant's intentions will be judged based on evidence. Proceed, Ms. Blake. Susan submitted the text exchange where Alex asked me to provide test results to calm his family, sealing their attempt to paint it as an accident. When my turn came, I stood, feeling my baby move, giving me strength. I looked at the judge. Your Honor, I didn't want this war. I wanted a family, happiness for my child. But instead of support, I got doubt, humiliation, and ultimately a threat to my baby's life. I'm not asking for revenge. I'm asking for justice. I want my child to grow up safe, away from people who think truth can be bought with silence. The judge nodded, her face unreadable but her eyes showing a flicker of humanity. I sat, feeling Sophia's grip tighten. Victoria spoke next, her voice steady but her fingers fidgeting with her jacket. I never meant to harm Monica or her child. It was an accident. I was only trying to protect my son, his career, his future. Monica, she's always been too sensitive, taking everything to heart. The judge interrupted. Mrs. Foster, you claim it was accidental, but the recording suggests an attempt to conceal the incident. How do you explain that? Victoria faltered, glancing at her attorney, who gave a slight headshake. She mumbled about stress and family duties, her words fading into the room's silence. Christina, called as a witness, gave muddled testimony, fussing with her hair and avoiding my eyes. David surprisingly refused to testify, citing hospital commitments. His absence spoke louder than words. After 3 hours, the judge called a recess. Sophia and I stepped into the hall, where she bought me herbal tea. I stared at the paper cup, thinking how far this had gone. This wasn't just a trial. It was a fight to be heard, to protect my child. Back in the courtroom, the judge delivered her ruling. Victoria was charged with intentional infliction of minor harm, but due to lack of direct evidence of a push, it wasn't classified as assault. She received a fine, community service, and a 3-year restraining order from me and my child. My divorce was granted. I received full custody, with Alex allowed supervised visitation if he agreed to family counseling. Alex didn't approach me after the ruling. I saw him leave, shoulders slumped, eyes on the floor. Part of me still loved him, but another part knew he chose silence when I needed his voice. Sophia and I returned to her apartment. The evening was quiet, the city's hum reminding me life went on. I sat on the couch, hand on my belly, feeling my baby move, as if assuring me we'd survived the storm together. "What now?" Sophia asked, handing me chamomile tea. "Now I live for 2, I said, smiling for the first time that day. "And I'll teach my child that truth is worth fighting for." A month later, I took a remote job at another ad agency to avoid stress. Sophia helped me set up a nursery in her apartment, small but cozy, with yellow wallpaper and a soft rug. Every night, I read to my baby from books I found at a secondhand shop. Fairy tales, poems, stories of brave heroes. One morning, I got a letter from Alex. He was seeing a therapist, trying to understand himself. He apologized and hoped I'd forgive him someday. I didn't reply, not because I didn't want to, but because I wasn't ready. Victoria and Christina vanished from my life. I heard from mutual friends that Victoria left for a few months to stay with her sister in Oregon, and Christina quit her design firm after some scandal. David, as always, stayed out of it. I kept building my life. Each morning, I looked at my growing belly and promised my child, "You'll grow up in love, and no one will ever make you feel less than you are." When I gave birth to my daughter, Emily, I held her and cried, not from pain or fear, but from joy. She was my miracle, proof that light can follow the darkest storms. Sophia became Emily's godmother. We often walked in the park, where I told Emily about trees, the sky, and the importance of being brave. Sometimes, passers-by smiled at us, reminding me I'd made the right choice. When Emily was 3 months old, I got another letter from Alex. He wanted to see her but was willing to wait. I replied briefly, "I'll let you know when I'm ready." I didn't know what the future held, but I knew one thing. I'd never let anyone silence me again, and my daughter would grow up knowing her voice would always be heard. Did you like the story? Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next interesting story. See you tomorrow.